I didn't plan on pressing play that day. At least, not like that. But sometimes the truth decides its own moment. I remember standing there in the crowded conference hall, feeling every heartbeat echo in my chest. The entire company was packed into that room, rows of chairs, the giant screen glowing, voices fading as people settled in. And at the front of it all stood Eric, my manager, smiling like nothing in the world could shake him. But he didn't know what was coming. Not yet. When the footage started playing, the room changed in an instant. It was like the air got thicker, heavier. Conversations died mid-sentence. Someone dropped a pen, and even that little sound felt loud. My hands were cold, but my mind was burning with one thought: this is it. This is the moment everything turns. On the screen, the video began with my voice, calm, focused, explaining the early build of the project. The same project Eric had just claimed as his. The same work he stood there taking credit for minutes earlier. At first, people looked confused. Then curious. And then, silent. All eyes slowly shifted from the screen to him. Then back to the screen. Then to me. I could feel the tension building like a storm ready to break open. Even the executives at the front leaned in, eyebrows raised, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The footage didn't lie. It didn't bend or twist the truth. It showed every step I took. Every adjustment. Every late-night recording I made because he told me he needed documentation. I watched Eric's face carefully. He tried to smile at first. A small, shaky smile. Then he swallowed hard. Then he stopped moving entirely. For the first time since I'd known him, he had no words. The clip continued, me coding, me testing, me talking through problems he never helped solve. My voice filled the room in a way it never had before. And each second that passed pushed him further into a corner he couldn't talk his way out of. The room felt different now. Heavier. Sharper. Someone whispered, "Wait, this is his work." Another person murmured, but Eric said, then silence again. Pure silence. And that's when it hit me, this wasn't just a video. This was the truth finally standing up for itself. I didn't feel triumphant. Not yet. What I felt was release, like a weight I'd carried alone had finally been seen by everyone. Eric's career didn't end with shouting or confrontation. It ended with a simple replay. A moment he never expected. A moment I will never forget. And as the footage rolled on, I realized something else: this wasn't just the end of his lie. It was the beginning of my voice finally being heard. If you had told me 3 years ago that I'd end up exposing my own manager in front of the entire company, I would have laughed. Back then, I was just Daniel, the quiet guy in the corner office, working hard, staying late, hoping someone would finally notice the effort I put in. I joined Redbridge Innovations with big dreams. I imagined myself growing here, building things that mattered, maybe even leading my own team someday. And honestly, for a while, I believed that could happen. But dreams can get blurry when you're standing behind someone else's shadow. In my case, that shadow had a name: Eric. Eric walked into any room like he owned the air inside it. He had that polished confidence, the kind that made people listen even when he wasn't saying much. He knew how to talk, how to charm, how to make everyone feel like he had all the answers. And me? I was the guy who actually had the answers, but never the spotlight. It didn't happen all at once. That's the part that still stings. At first, Eric seemed helpful, even friendly. He praised my ideas, nodded thoughtfully when I explained something, and told me I had real potential. I remember feeling grateful. I remember thinking, finally, someone sees me. But then the small things started. A meeting where he shared an idea I had mentioned only an hour earlier. A project update where he said, "we," when it was really just me. A compliment from another manager that he accepted a little too quickly. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself, it's fine. One day, they'll know it was me. But, one day, kept moving further away. 3 years of quiet work. 3 years of doing the heavy lifting. 3 years of watching others get applause for things I built in silence. And the worst part? I let it happen. I kept my head down because I didn't want to cause trouble. I convinced myself that patience would eventually earn me recognition. I thought being respectful meant being invisible. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Every time Eric took credit for something small, it chipped away at me. Every time he smiled at me like I should thank him for using my work, something inside me tightened. Still, I stayed hopeful. I believed that if I just pushed harder, someone, anyone, would finally say, "Daniel, well done." Because that's all I wanted. Not fame. Not praise. Just to be seen. I didn't know it then, but my need for recognition would become the spark that started everything. Because when the company finally opened a door for real growth, a chance to show what I could truly do, I walked through it with everything I had. And that was the moment Eric decided my work was worth taking. I had spent 3 years being overlooked. I didn't realize I was also being studied, by the one person who planned to use my ambition for himself. I still remember the morning everything changed. It was a regular Monday, the kind where you walk into work half awake, clutching your coffee like it's the only thing keeping you standing. I wasn't expecting anything big. Honestly, I thought it would be another quiet day of coding in my small corner office. But then the announcement came. Our director, Linda, gathered the entire department into the meeting room. She stood at the front with a smile that didn't show up often, the kind that meant something important was coming. That's when she said it, the company was launching an innovation showcase. A competition. A chance for anyone in the department to present an original project. The winning idea would get full funding, a leadership role, and a company-wide rollout. In that moment, I felt something spark inside me. Hope. Excitement. Possibility. For the first time in years, it felt like there was a door opening, a real shot at being recognized for what I could do. And before the meeting even ended, I knew exactly what I wanted to present. A dashboard system I had been quietly working on for months. Something cleaner, faster, smarter, a tool that could save everyone time and cut out half the chaotic manual work our teams always complained about. It wasn't flashy, but it was real. Useful. Solid. And it was mine. I spent the rest of the day polishing the concept. My notes scattered across the desk, sketches on my tablet, ideas popping faster than I could write them down. By the time the sun set, I had the beginnings of something powerful. That's when Eric appeared in my doorway. He leaned against the frame like he always did, wearing that confident smile that made people believe he had everything figured out. "So," he said, "you've got an idea for the showcase, don't you?" I hesitated. Part of me wanted to keep it quiet. But he was my manager. He was supposed to guide me. So I told him. All of it. His eyes lit up, too quickly, I realize now. But back then, I mistook it for excitement. "This is great, Daniel," he said. "Really great. Let me help you develop it. We'll work on this together." Together. That word felt warm. Safe. He asked me to send him every file I had, versions, drafts, notes. He told me to record walkthrough videos so he could review them when he had time. He even said he'd help me prepare the presentation, polish it, make it shine. And I believed him. Why wouldn't I? This was my chance. And he seemed genuinely supportive. Looking back, I realized something painful. Sometimes betrayal doesn't start with harsh words. Sometimes it starts with kindness that feels real, until the moment it's used against you. My perfect idea was supposed to be my breakthrough. I didn't know it then, but it was also the moment Eric decided he wanted it for himself. I don't know when the first warning sign appeared. Maybe it was the missing file. Maybe it was the strange feeling in my gut. But looking back now, the signs were everywhere. I just didn't want to see them. At first, it was small things, things I told myself didn't matter. One morning, I opened my project folder and noticed a version was missing. I figured I had forgotten to save it, or maybe my computer glitched. No big deal, right? Then another file disappeared. Then the meeting Eric scheduled to review my work got pushed back. Then the next one. And the next. Every time I asked when we could sit down and finalize the presentation, he gave me the same answers: let's push it to tomorrow. I've got a meeting that popped up. Don't worry, Daniel. I've got everything under control. Under control. Those words should have made me feel safe, but instead they felt off. Like he was calming me down without actually giving me anything solid. Still, I kept working. Kept updating the builds. Kept sending him new versions because he said he needed them. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a Friday afternoon, the kind where everyone is half checked out and dreaming about the weekend. I walked toward the break room to grab a coffee, not expecting anything unusual. But right as I reached the doorway, I heard voices inside. One of them was Linda, our director. The other was Eric. I froze when I heard her say, "I'm excited to see your project at the showcase, Eric. You've been talking about it for weeks. Your project." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. I stepped back, staying hidden, my mind spinning. Then I heard his reply, smooth, confident, like he'd been practicing it. "Yeah, it's been a heavy lift, but I think it'll impress." A heavy lift? He hadn't written a single line of the code. He hadn't designed one screen. He hadn't even sat with me once to review the project. My heart started racing so fast I thought they might hear it. I wanted to step in. I wanted to say something. But my voice, it just wouldn't come out. Instead, I stood there listening as he described my work, my idea, my effort, my late nights, as if it all came from him. Something inside me cracked in that moment. Not anger, not yet. Just disbelief. Shock. The kind of sting you feel when you realize someone you trusted has been smiling at you while planning something behind your back. I walked away from that doorway feeling like my chest was full of broken glass. Every step felt heavier. Every thought sharper. Because I knew what I hadn't wanted to admit, something was wrong. Very wrong. And for the first time, a new, painful question formed in my mind: had Eric ever planned to help me, or had he been preparing to take everything from the start? That was the moment the betrayal stopped hiding. And I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. The moment I walked out of that break room, I knew I needed answers. Real answers. No more hoping, no more trusting, no more waiting for Eric to explain everything. So the first thing I did when I got back to my desk was open my project folder. I don't know what I expected to find, maybe nothing, maybe everything, but I wasn't prepared for what I actually saw. Or what I didn't see. The original file, the very first version of the dashboard I built, was gone. Not moved. Not renamed. Deleted. I froze. My fingers hovered above the keyboard, my heart pounding. I clicked through other folders. More files missing. Early drafts, notes, build logs, pieces of the process that showed the project had started with me. Each missing file felt like another piece of me falling away. Had Eric deleted them? Had he really gone that far? Or was I losing my mind? I tried to convince myself it was a glitch, but deep down, I knew better. Someone wanted those files gone. And only one person had asked for full access. A cold wave of panic rolled through me. If he had the files, and I didn't, how could I prove anything? How could I protect myself? I sank back in my chair, staring at the empty spaces where my work used to be. I felt small. Powerless. Like the ground beneath me had cracked open and I was slipping through it. But panic is a strange thing. Sometimes it destroys you. Sometimes, it wakes you up. And then, somewhere between fear and frustration, a thought hit me so suddenly I actually gasped. The backups. Months earlier, I had set my computer to automatically upload certain folders to my cloud drive, just in case I ever lost data. I'd forgotten all about it. But now, that tiny habit felt like a lifeline. My hands shook as I logged in. I clicked the folder. And there they were. Every version. Every recording. Every time-stamped walkthrough. Files Eric couldn't touch. Files he didn't even know existed. I opened one of the recordings. Hearing my own voice explain each step, seeing my cursor move across the screen as I built the dashboard piece by piece, felt like a rush of oxygen after drowning. Proof. Clear, undeniable proof. I spent the next hour gathering everything, the earliest builds, the mid-stage experiments, the final polished versions. I organized the screen recordings, the design notes, the test run videos. Each file painted the same picture: I built this. I created every line, every click, every idea. And for the first time that day, I felt something stronger than panic. I felt clarity. Eric thought he had control because he deleted what he could see. But he never imagined I kept a world of proof outside his reach. As I watched the videos replay on my screen, one thought echoed loud and steady in my mind: if he wants to lie in front of everyone, then I'll let the truth speak louder. I woke up the morning of the showcase with a pit in my stomach. You know that feeling before something big happens, when your mind knows the truth, but your heart still hopes you're wrong? That was me. I kept telling myself maybe Eric would surprise me, maybe he'd call, maybe he'd admit the project was mine. He didn't. When I walked into the main conference hall, people buzzed with energy. The giant screen glowed bright at the front. Rows of chairs filled fast. Every department was there, along with executives I'd only seen in emails. This was supposed to be the day I stood on that stage. But instead, Eric waved me over and whispered, "Take a seat in the audience, Daniel. I'll handle the presentation." Handle. The word stung. I sat down slowly, feeling my heartbeat in my throat. The room quieted as the lights dimmed. Then Eric stepped onto the stage, confident as ever, shoulders back, smile perfect, voice warm and rehearsed. And then he did it. He clicked the remote. And my project filled the screen. My dashboard. My design. My logic. Every feature I spent months building appeared behind him like it belonged to him. I felt the air leave my lungs. Eric walked the stage like he owned it, explaining the concept in broad, polished sentences. He spoke about the challenges he faced and the long nights he spent refining the system. He even joked about how he almost gave up, earning a sympathetic laugh from the crowd. People believed him. Why wouldn't they? He delivered every line with charm and practiced confidence. Meanwhile, I sat in the audience, hands shaking, feeling invisible in a room full of people who had no idea the truth was sitting right in front of them. But then, something shifted. After the applause faded, the Q&A began. Executives raised their hands, asking about technical details, things only the person who built the project could answer. Eric's smile faltered. A tiny crack. Someone asked, "Why did you choose this particular data structure?" He gave a vague answer. Another asked, "How did you solve the early rendering issues?" He dodged it completely. Then a third executive leaned forward. "Can you walk us through your testing process? Step by step." That's when Eric's confidence wobbled. I saw it, the first sign that his smooth story was falling apart. He cleared his throat. Gave another empty response. People exchanged glances. The room wasn't fully turning yet. But the questions were cracks forming in a wall he thought would never break. Watching him struggle didn't feel satisfying. Not yet. It felt surreal, like I was witnessing a performance where the actor suddenly forgot his lines. And as each question grew harder, I realized something powerful: the truth was getting restless. It wanted out. And soon, it would be impossible for Eric to hide. I could feel the pressure in the room rising with each question thrown at Eric. His answers were getting shorter, thinner, emptier. The charm he walked in with was slipping fast, and the calm, confident tone he always used was cracking at the edges. It was like watching a mask fall off in slow motion. One executive asked, "What inspired your early prototype layout?" Eric blinked, stumbled, and mumbled something about creative instincts. Another asked, "How did you solve the API issue in version 2? He hesitated again. "There were multiple approaches," he said weakly. People exchanged looks. Soft murmurs floated through the audience. The air felt different now, sharper, heavier, almost waiting. My heart was pounding. Hard. Each beat felt like a push, urging me forward. Then came the question that cracked everything open: could you walk us through your development process? In your own words. Eric froze. Completely. He glanced at the screen. Then at the audience. Then at me. His eyes widened just a little, fear mixing with confusion. He knew he was cornered. And I knew, this was the moment. Before he could force out another vague excuse, I stood up. The sound of my chair scraping the floor echoed across the silent hall. All eyes shifted toward me, dozens of confused faces turning at once. My legs felt heavy, but steady. I walked down the aisle, every step louder in my head than in the room. I could almost hear the anxiety whispering behind me, "What are you doing? Are you sure? Is this really the moment?" Yes. It was. Eric tried to speak as I reached the front. "Daniel, we're in the middle of," but I didn't let him finish. I turned toward the audience, my voice calm but clear. "I think," I said, "it would help everyone if I showed how the project was actually built." A ripple moved through the room. Not noise, just energy. Like the whole audience inhaled at once. Confusion. Tension. Anticipation. Even the executives leaned forward, eyes narrowing with interest. They weren't sure what was happening, but they knew something big was unfolding. Eric stepped toward me, his voice tight. "Daniel, this isn't the time," but it was the time. The only time. The moment the truth had been waiting for. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse him. I simply repeated, louder, "I'd like to show the actual development process." The room fell into complete silence. No whispers. No shifting chairs. Just a quiet, collective question hanging in the air: what is Daniel about to reveal? Eric's face drained of confidence. He looked at me like he finally understood that whatever he'd planned was about to break apart. And as I reached for the remote, I knew one thing for sure: there was no turning back now. The moment my finger pressed the remote, the entire room seemed to hold its breath. The presentation slide disappeared, replaced by a black screen. Then a soft click. Then the beginning of the first recording. A screen capture window appeared, my computer desktop, my cursor, my notes. And then my voice, steady and focused, filled the speakers. "All right, version 1. Starting with the base layout framework, you could feel the shift in the room instantly. Rows of faces turned toward the screen, eyes narrowing as they tried to make sense of what they were seeing. My voice continued, walking through the early build step by step. I narrated the code I wrote, the mistakes I corrected, the improvements I made along the way. Every detail was clear. Every timestamp was visible. Every piece of proof stood right there in front of them. Murmurs spread through the room like a quiet wave. I heard someone whisper, "Wait, is he the one who built this?" Another said under their breath, "But Eric said," and then they fell silent again, watching closely. The second recording started automatically. This one showed the mid-stage version. Different color schemes, new features, all narrated by me. I spoke about the challenges, the solutions, the trial runs. Each timestamp matched the nights I stayed late. Each file name matched the versions I sent to Eric. My heartbeat slowed as I watched the truth do what I could never do alone, speak for itself. But Eric was unraveling. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him step back from the stage, hands slightly shaking. He looked at the screen like it had betrayed him personally. His jaw tightened. His eyes darted toward the audience, then toward me, then back to the footage. He whispered, "Daniel, what are you doing?" But his voice wasn't steady anymore. The third clip played. This was the one that made everything undeniable. It showed me walking through the final version, clean, polished, fully functional. And at the start of the video, something crucial appeared on the screen, recording requested by Eric Hale. There was no way to talk around it. No way to twist it. No way to rewrite it. The murmurs grew louder now. Confusion turned into understanding. Understanding turned into disbelief. I saw our director, Linda, slowly turn her head toward Eric. Her expression shifted from surprise, to disappointment, to something colder. That was the moment leadership realized exactly what had happened. Eric opened his mouth like he wanted to explain, but nothing came out. He looked left speechless, completely and utterly exposed. The truth had taken center stage. And there was no saving his story now. As the final seconds of the footage played, the room didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt awake. And for the first time in weeks, I breathed without fear. The moment the final recording ended, the room didn't explode with noise like I expected. Instead, it fell into a silence so deep it felt physical. A silence that didn't need words to say, "We've just witnessed the truth." Linda was the first to move. She stood slowly, her chair scraping softly against the floor. Her eyes stayed locked on Eric, not angry, not confused, just disappointed in a way that cut deeper than any raised voice ever could. "Eric," she said quietly, "we need to step outside." He didn't answer. He couldn't. His face looked drained, almost gray, as if all the confidence he carried into the room had been stripped away in seconds. Two members of HR approached him, asking him to come with them. He tried to speak, tried to form some kind of excuse, but the words collapsed before they even left his mouth. All he managed was a soft, shaking, "This isn't." "I didn't," before HR gently guided him out of the event hall. No one clapped. No one smirked. No one celebrated. They just watched him go, quietly, almost respectfully, as if witnessing the final moments of a story they never expected to hear. Once he was gone, everyone slowly turned their attention to me. I wasn't ready for that. Suddenly, being seen felt overwhelming. My hands shook. My chest felt tight. A mix of relief and shock washed through me all at once. Linda approached me after a long moment. "Daniel," she said softly, "can we talk in my office?" My heart dropped. I didn't know if I was in trouble or being questioned or simply being asked to relive everything again. But I followed her, my steps unsteady, my mind racing. In her office, HR joined us. They didn't interrogate me. They listened. I explained everything, the missing files, the delays, the vague excuses, the recordings Eric requested. I showed them the backups, the timestamps, the messages he sent asking for more versions. By the end of it, HR didn't even need to deliberate. They said the evidence was clear. The truth was simple. Eric had taken credit for work he didn't create, and attempted to cover his tracks in the process. By the next morning, I received the official notice: Eric was no longer employed at Redbridge Innovations. I sat there reading that email again and again, feeling a strange mixture of justice and sadness. As much as he had betrayed me, there was something sobering about watching someone's entire career collapse in a single day. But then, a second email arrived. This one from Linda. She asked me to meet with leadership. And when I walked into that room, everyone stood, smiling at me in a way no one had before. Daniel, Linda said, we'd like you to take full control of the project. Let it. Build it your way. And we want to discuss a new role for you. My breath caught. After years of being overlooked, after being betrayed by the person I trusted the most, I was finally being seen. Not because I fought louder, but because the truth finally had the space to speak. The first morning I walked into the office as the official lead of the project felt unreal. Not glamorous. Not triumphant. Just, different. Like the air around me held a little more space, and for once, that space belonged to me. I sat at my desk, opened the files, and stared at the dashboard I had created, knowing this time no one could take it, twist it, or claim it as their own. The damage Eric caused didn't disappear overnight, but standing in the position he tried to steal made something inside me quietly settle. My first decision as project lead was simple: everything would be transparent. No secrets. No hidden credit. No silent workers in the background. I held a team meeting that week, and instead of standing at the front like I owned the room, I sat beside everyone. I explained the vision, the challenges, and the steps ahead. And then I said something I wish someone had said to me years earlier: if you contribute to this project, your name will be on it. Your work matters. You matter. For a moment, the room stayed silent. Then people nodded, some with relief, some with gratitude. They understood I meant it. Leading wasn't about being the loudest voice. It wasn't about polished speeches or stealing the spotlight. It was about building trust in a place where mine had been broken. Over the next few weeks, the project moved faster than ever. Ideas flowed freely. People volunteered to help. Every version grew stronger, cleaner, smarter. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was carrying everything alone. When we finally launched the dashboard company-wide, the reaction was immediate. Teams praised how easy it was to use. Managers said it saved them hours every week. Employees who usually stayed quiet sent messages saying how much it helped their workflow. But the moment that hit me hardest came from Linda. She stopped by my office, leaned on the doorframe, and said, "Daniel, this is exactly what we hoped for. You didn't just rebuild the project, you rebuilt the trust around it." I didn't know what to say. I just smiled, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in years. Being valued didn't feel like applause or bright lights. It felt quiet. Steady. Like finally being able to breathe without doubting your own worth. Standing there, watching the dashboard go live across the company, I realized something important: Eric's betrayal didn't destroy me. It revealed me. It showed me who I could be, not someone hiding behind others, not someone waiting for permission, but someone who could rise from damage and still build something meaningful. And for the first time, I truly felt seen. Not because someone allowed it, but because I claimed it. If you had told me months ago that one day I'd look back on all this with anything other than anger, I wouldn't have believed you. Betrayal doesn't fade quickly. It doesn't slip quietly into the background. It stays with you, sharp, embarrassing, painful. But standing here now, on the other side of everything, I see the journey differently. I used to think trust was something simple. You give it, they keep it, and everyone moves forward. But trust, real trust, is fragile. It can take years to build, and sometimes just one moment to break. And when Eric broke mine, it felt like someone had cracked a part of my identity. For a while, I wondered if the problem was me. Was I too quiet? Too trusting? Too hopeful? Did I make it easy for someone to take advantage? But the truth is simpler: his betrayal wasn't about my weakness. It was about his choices. That doesn't make the hurt vanish, but it does make it clearer. What surprised me most wasn't the betrayal itself, it was what saved me from it. Not anger. Not shouting. Not fighting fire with fire. It was documentation. Proof. Simple, quiet truth. The recordings I made, those small walkthrough videos I barely thought about, became my shield. Every timestamp, every version, every line of narration turned into a voice louder than anything Eric could claim. I realized something powerful: justice doesn't always come from revenge. Sometimes it comes from clarity. Believe me, there were moments when I wanted to embarrass him, to make him feel the same sting he gave me. But standing on that stage, watching the footage play back, I understood something deeper. I wasn't exposing him out of spite. I wasn't trying to destroy him. I was simply standing up for myself. There's a difference. Revenge wants someone else to lose. Justice wants the truth to win. And in the end, that's what happened. Not because I shouted louder, but because I refused to let my own story be rewritten. If there's one message I hope anyone takes from what happened to me, it's this: never let someone else claim your voice. Not in your work. Not in your life. Not in your dreams. Your effort matters. Your ideas matter. And your truth, even when it feels small or quiet or ignored, is still yours. Protect it. Document it. Stand by it. Because one day, you might find yourself in a moment where the world needs to see who you really are. And when that moment comes, don't step back. Don't shrink. Step forward. Let the truth speak. And never, ever, let anyone rewrite your story. If this story touched you, if you've ever felt overlooked, betrayed, or silenced, just remember, your truth matters more than you think. And if you want more stories that bring justice, healing, and a little bit of quiet revenge, hit that like button and subscribe to stay with us. Share this with someone who needs a reminder that they're stronger than the betrayal they survived. Thank you for watching. Protect your work. Protect your voice.